Donald Trump is surrendering and admitting defeat in Minnesota. He sent Tom Homan out today for this press conference where Homan said that the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo, as part of Operation Metro Surge, will now be removed. That Operation Metro Surge in Minnesota is over. Now, while of course Homan is saying this, it must obviously be verified that that's what happens. But the Trump regime removing its troops from Minnesota who stood up bravely and courageously against the Trump invasion. Here's what Homan just said moments ago. Let's play this clip.
With that, and success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue through the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country, and to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security and mass deportation. Law enforcement officers drawn down from this surge operation will either return to their duty stations or be assigned elsewhere to achieve just that.
Now, one poster said the following: they made one of the classic blunders of all time. Never fight a land war in Minnesota, especially in the winter. Now, Donald Trump is ranting and raving like a lunatic this morning after admitting defeat. And Donald Trump is praising Pam Bondi for her performance during what I believe and what you believe and what almost everybody else believes was the worst testimony ever for the cover-up of the Epstein sex trafficking files and the Epstein sex trafficking cabal that now is centered. 1600 Pennsylvania. Here's what Donald Trump writes. AG Pam Bondi, under intense fire from the Trump deranged radical left lunatics, was fantastic at yesterday's hearing on the never-ending saga of Jeffrey Epstein, where the one thing that has been proven conclusively, much to their chagrin, was that President Donald Trump has been 100% exonerated of their ridiculous Russia type charges. What the hell are you saying? The Russia type charges? I don't even know. What are you even talking about? Actually, it is slimeball Democrats, many of them big donors and politicians that have been proven guilty. Republican loser, sanctimonious rhino Congressman Thomas Massie made a total fool of himself yesterday, fighting aimlessly against a hopeless agenda of hate and stupidity, as most clearly stated by his crashing job approval numbers. He's wacky Liz Cheney territory. Nobody cared about Epstein, he said when he was alive. You did. You said he was a good guy who likes girls on the younger side. They only cared about him when they thought he could create political harm to a very popular president who brought our country back. You are the least popular in presidential history. 37% and sinking even more because you're covering up child sex trafficking and you're doing it here in this post. He goes on to say it's backfiring badly. Maybe they should focus on their quest to open our borders to the world's greatest criminals, have transgender for everyone, or get men, no matter what their size or strength, play women's sports. Abracadabra, I'm just going to say these things about men playing women's sports, and then everybody's going to go and say, aha, we're not going to remember that you're covering up a child sex trafficking ring. Oh, and then Donald Trump, whenever he's doing those types of posts, he then posts a photo of Melania as though Melania's in the files. Melania calls Ghislaine G, and then she calls Melania Sweet Pea. You know, and they talk about how great the New York Magazine article was where Trump said that Epstein liked girls on the younger side. But here's what Trump posts about Melania from one of his right-wing propaganda outlets called Just the News. The First Lady was asked an array of questions, including her favorite sport, taste in music, and whether she is a queen. Whether she is a queen. And that's what Americans want to hear right now, who are psychologically tortured living paycheck to paycheck. Downward job revisions in 2025 by about 1 million. No jobs basically were created in all of 2025. People can't afford homes. They can't afford to pay their rent. Healthcare has been ripped away. Prices are surging. And Melania's the queen, and Pam Bondi did great, and golden ballrooms, and triumphant arches, everybody. Come on. Now I'll share with you this. Governor Walz of Minnesota addressed the Trump regime's surrender there, and he said, look, the damage and destruction you have all caused in this state is frankly unfathomable, and you should all have to pay for the harm that you've inflicted. Play this clip.
The federal government needs to pay for what they broke here. There are going to be accountability on the things that happened, but one of the things, the incredible and immense costs that were borne by the people of this state, the federal government needs to be responsible. You don't get to break things and just leave without doing something about it. So we're going to be asking the federal delegation to be investing and doing the things necessary. We have been in contact with federal leadership as a negotiation is happening right now on DHS funding and all of the things that we have an expectation, whether it be the investigations, whether it be going forward, no masks, because this, I got to tell you, one of the things, and I'm in contact with a lot of my colleagues, both at the federal level with the Senate and the House, but especially governors. I don't want these folks showing up somewhere else and doing this. So the changes that need to be made, the investments that need to come back, they need to show, they being the federal government and they being this administration, they need to do more. But I'm not going to hold my breath that the federal government's going to do the right thing. What I am going to do is I'm going to bet on the people of this state. And when we come into this legislative session, an expectation is this should be a bipartisan effort to protect these businesses, to protect what we have in Minnesota, to make changes here to improve this state. That should be very easy. And I think we've seen just some of the data surrounding this. There's very few things in this state that are more unpopular than what just happened to us. And there's few things that are more popular than recovery and supporting small businesses. So,
by the way, it's not just Democratic governors who are saying things about Donald Trump. I mean, you had Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma stand up to Trump, if you want to even call it that. He canceled the Governor Association trip to Washington, D.C. because Donald Trump refused to acknowledge the existence of Democratic governors as part of the annual event. So Governor Stitt said, well, it's a bipartisan governors convention, so we're not going to be able to go to D.C. this year because Trump's only going to do an event in Washington, D.C. with the Republicans. And then Donald Trump starts attacking Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt for being bipartisan and saying, well, all governors should be involved in the Governors Association's annual meetings. And here is what Donald Trump posted. Remember, it was Rhino Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma who was massively behind his opponent in a previous election. I endorsed him. I didn't want to read this. I mean, just stop the whining, man. Just be normal. Behave yourself like a grown-up, please. At a bare minimum, can you do that? Can I just show you my two favorite moments, by the way, from that Bondi hearing that Donald Trump says is great? And I think I think this is symbolic of everything. Like, if you think that is great, Bondi, and you believe America is great, it's like a logic game that we used to do in studying for the LSAT. If Bondi great, and you say America great, then really bad, because Bondi was objectively the worst, not from any even political perspective. I mean, as she was up there covering up for the child sex trafficking ring, implicating the Department of Justice as a racketeering enterprise, covering up the most vicious and vile sex crimes of children and rape of underage girls imaginable. And then she would say, but the Dow is 50,000. The S&Ps hit 7,000. Look at my burn book, everybody. The two strongest questions, I believe, there were some good questions all around, I thought, but Congresswoman Becca Balint, Democratic Congresswoman, I think just did a incredible job. Here, play this clip.
Yes or no, has the Justice Department asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Epstein?
Excuse me. Secretary Lutnick has addressed those ties himself.
I'm asking you, has the Justice Department specifically asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
He has addressed those ties himself.
Has the DOJ asked Secretary Phelan about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know whether he has addressed those or not.
Has the Deputy Secretary Feinberg talked to the Department of Justice about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein? Yes or no? Has the Department of Justice talked to Deputy Secretary Feinberg about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which are clearly spelled out in the files? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, I'm stunned that you want to continue talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Epstein
Okay, I'm reclaiming my time. I'm asking you not a trick question, a simple question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence.
Do you know who Chris Malin is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what
does ties mean?
I can conclude from what you
mean?
are saying that you have not talked to them.
What does ties mean?
I think Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does ties mean? Can you define that?
Across the world,
can you
prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace. And that's a good first start. And that same
Disgrace
standard,
is not saying the word Chris Malin.
standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
One second.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
And then you had Democratic Congressmember Neguse. Here, let's play this clip right here.
General Bondi, 6 days ago, you posted online, quote, "If you come for law enforcement, the Trump administration will come for you," end quote. I want to show you just a brief video. It's about 30 seconds, and I'll ask you a couple questions about it.
You guys are disgusting, man. Hey, you guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't see it because you're chasing your pension, right? Pension. Your retirement, right? That's what runs your life, your retirement. The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension because it's going to be worthless. And shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah. Fuck that. Yeah.
Attorney General Bondi, that man works for you now, right?
Who was that, Congressman?
The man in that video, the one who was in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling, "Kill him," at police officers on January 6th, his name is Jared Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the Department of Justice.
He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, and interfering with police with the intent to commit another felony. This is who you choose as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America to hire at the Department of Justice. Someone on video yelling, "Kill him," at police officers, right?
I believe he was pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned. You're right. You're right. Pardoned by President Trump for his offense. Pardoned for yelling, "Kill him," at police officers. And yet you expect hardworking police officers across the country to believe that you take law enforcement seriously. You could imagine the reaction of so many folks across the country hearing the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States refuse to even condemn what that individual whom you've now hired did. Now,
turning to the hearing that was taking place this morning in the United States Senate, I'll do a more fulsome video on this. We have Senator Rand Paul, Republican Senator Rand Paul, at this hearing on the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo's attacks on Minnesota. You have Rand Paul questioning these ICE officials. And, look, this is where I say this shouldn't be a political issue. I mean, mostly every other Republican was out there attacking Attorney General Ellison and others and saying, it's your fault what happened to Preti. It's your fault what happened to Renee Nicole. What are you talking? It's your fault. You encourage their First Amendment rights to protest peacefully. It's your fault. But Rand Paul, in this instance, says it like it is. Here's what Rand Paul has to say. Here, play this clip.
So there were people who said, and they were part of the government, I don't think they were interviewed, but part of DHS and part of the administration said that, yes, the officers were using de-escalation tactics. Nobody believes that, all right?
No.
I'm just going to stipulate that. I don't even need your opinion on that. No one in America believes shoving that woman's head in the face in the snow was de-escalation. But your officers need to know they had a verbal encounter with them. She did not place her hands on the officers. She wasn't trying to get their weapon. It's not great. I mean, I don't like to see these encounters either. But is it appropriate for the officers to respond to a verbal barrage of words or whatever? Is it proper to physically throw a woman down or to throw anyone down?
If the only action is verbal, no.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
Yes. Correct, sir. Same answer.
All right. Do you have another point on this before we move on?
And here's another clip from Rand Paul. Let's play it.
With Alexander Preti. He's filming in the middle of the street. We see two women that are, as you watch the video, jawboning, complaining, protesting, yelling, maybe not being nice, but they're protesting. Well, let's keep the videos stopped. And so my question to Mr. Scott first is yelling at ICE officers or Border Patrol, is that a form of domestic assault on the officers?
No, sir.
Mr. Lyons?
No, sir, it's not.
Is filming of ICE or Border Patrol either an assault or a crime in any way, Mr. Scott?
No, sir.
Mr. Lyons?
No, sir.
Let's roll. Go ahead.
Finally, I'm going to show this clip right here of Governor Walz from his press conference earlier today. And this brought a tear to my eye where he talked about how now a core memory of children in his state is going to be family members being ripped away, masked agents invading their city. Here, play this clip. And state, play this clip.
Running things and doing it right. We follow the law. We do it right. We provide more federal dollars. And in my opinion, this unallotment around what Congress has appropriated and what the law says Minnesota should get, the president is arbitrarily, and his cabinet secretaries are arbitrarily holding that money. So back to this first question to end on, this about what DHS reform should do. We are pushing our congressional allies, and I would think the Republicans in this, before any deal is made with DHS funding, all of them need to quit this assault of, and again, I will use the president's word, retribution against Minnesota. Not because we have more undocumented people, not because of any reason other than he decided that this is a state they would try and make an example of. And look, I'm treading a pretty fine line here. He picked the wrong state to make an example of. And that is where things set today. So we'll see over the next few days. We are in a trust but verify phase. My word to Minnesota is, again, we're certainly not going to celebrate something that should have never happened. But I will say this, please keep, at this point in time, stay hyper vigilant. I'm afraid over these next few days with some of these folks leaving that the potential for an incident like we saw up here near the cathedral with this chase yesterday, what we don't need is some horrific thing happening on the way out. But I will say, as we started on this in the hours after the murder of Renee, is express your constitutional rights, stand up for your neighbors, speak out when you need to speak out, do so peacefully, because as I said then, and every one of you proved, the fact is, at the end of the day, that will win out. That is the way a democracy should function. And it seemed like a long ways from that January day that we would get to a point where they would say, we're leaving. But today is about a lot of destruction over those weeks, a lot of damage, a lot of trust has been eroded. A lot, as I said, we've got children that a core memory for them will be their classmate being taken away. And that will stick with them the rest of their lives. And my hope is what sticks with them is human decency wins out, rule of law matters, that arc of the moral universe is bending towards justice, and we are under no illusions that it will magically happen itself. All of what we're talking about today was put onto Minnesota, and it was Minnesota citizens, I'll say it again, nameless, faceless folks who endured whatever it took to make a difference. So our work is beginning here. We'll do the recovery, encouraging the legislative leaders to get ready for a recovery session. And my certainly on this is back these proposals and let's get this money to these businesses and get back to normal.
There you have it, folks. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll keep you posted throughout the day.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.